So, you know.
Yeah, so
Where's Ryan?
I always tell everyone we're like 6 years, like 6 years ago, we could have voted and no one would have, no one would even, you know, a few people would have said something.
And the next year, now it's now. I mean.
Yeah.
By the time he starts.
Yeah.
What you mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
What you doing?
Well, that's the thing.
Are
I
you
mean,
being
like,
good? Are you
all
being,
those-
Mike, you read me, Mike. Are you being good or what are we doing? Anything.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So. Kind of like anywhere you put. How long of it, you know,
Maybe election committee tomorrow.
we have like, we were able to obviously.
We don't want to raise our hand to get attention, but we ain't.
And we approved more than the revenue at the same time. Under the big power, limits, that makes sense.
I want him to.
I mean, you can do that.
At the same time.
You can pretzel yourself any way you want to think, you know,
Is
is
that,
that.
that more substance on it.
Supervisor.
But it'll be, I don't know, and I've been like
You guys are.
dealing with other issues. I'm not able to talk to my colleagues. It'll be a surprise for everybody. It'll be a surprise for collections.
Well, and I'm not gonna use those words, but you gotta say something. I found.
Okay.
But it's dangerous. You know, it's dangerous.
Think of the White House. Yeah.
What's that?
Think of the White House.
You got
I was there twice in the last 6 months.
Get rid of what?
287.
Very first chief.
I'm fair, help with that.
He did. Put him on the board to get in touch.
And I
Because they have
reassigned.
like 16. They have everything. Like,
You say whatever.
like it ain't hard to say no when you still have new revenue streams popping up for the next, 5 to 7 years. They can't even get power for 10 years. Anything approved now is not gonna go online unless they self power, which means burning natural gas.
Did I? That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Similar for us.
Hey, Matt, this is.
That was after.
Say on Beverly.
Yeah, for Candy.
She'll be taking over also the chair. He's also the
Yeah.
chair.
For the show, I'm like, yeah.
She'll be more than-
He's at-
He's all right. Peterson.
Next, welcome. And I was there the night. Nice meeting you.
He don't wanna let us put a, we had the.
He's like a supervisor of the district with which
Yeah.
your town is residing.
The clerk is the best.
But we'll see. I could be wrong. I could be in the minority. I don't know.
Anything out there?
No, I mean, it's good enough.
We can. Yeah, we can get there. So the counties is like $4.30 or something. And then they bring them in.
The mayor asked us regular person,
And we were all.
why would we get lost? Exactly. See what happens.
If they would have said, through a fit, we could have. Emergency meeting, let's reverse it. But it's only, I think we did it for 5 years. Our comments will be next year. But first year, not even all the way built out.
Upstairs.
Upstairs.
Yeah,
Three big.
I'm talking about.
3.5.
You got.
Must be Vienna. Congratulations. Full church.
That's what they thought, our staff thought we would be this year, so hopefully.
I'm kind of a newbie on New York. So that's my.
Not my man.
So I'm kind of new to it. I've been
Yeah.
like got this job.
Plus your
I think normally Vienna, Yeah.
I don't.
Travel.
It's not terrible.
For the lobby. That Thursday. Kind of like a small city, like get together.
As I say to everybody. Yep, go to the mid.
Together, enjoy. How I guess.
Yeah. I love you, man.
The fire.
I hear you.
Good evening,
Good
good evening, and I apologize for my voice, just only fist bumps with anyone, and please, you know, I don't feel this badly, but when you sound like this, it doesn't matter, so just a little cold, a little sore throat. So welcome, I'd like to start us close to on time. We'll get to the roll call, but first, we have some transitions and new commissioners who are here. We have Dahlia Palchek, who is here. Everybody knows her. Give her a hand.
My district.
Thank you for welcoming us.
Thank you for your hospitality.
Everybody knows, a lot of people know Dahlia. She also was the chair of the Northern Virginia Transportation Commission. So she's got tons of experience and thrilled to have you here. Thank you for coming. And Rachna, thank you. Please give her a hand.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for shifting from the hardest job in America, school board, to this, and for serving, and congratulations for winning.
Thank you.
Also, campaigning is exhausting, as all of us know, so I hope that,
No.
you know, but also joining the Transportation Commission, and welcome and thrilled that you're here. Dan Nash, thank you very much for coming. And we have one other transition, which is Michael Carrera it's his last meeting, and he's Cindy, correct? Stacy, excuse me, Stacy, is coming in. And in this one, I'll ask the three new commissioners. First we'll give Michael a chance to just say a few words if you want to, and introduce your colleague.
So I appreciate it. This is, I've done 2 terms with the city of Manassas Park. It's been amazing. It's been great. It's been an honor to be part of this board and body, to meet everybody and talk to everyone. It's a privilege, and just time to spend more time with my kids. I think, like you said, campaigning is hard. I don't want to do another term. Plus, I think I'm the only Republican on my city council. I think I'm a Republican here, but I did win something today. I got to talk to you to become a Trump supporter today. So
See him
This is on live TV. I
Just
will be
backed up
deported
from
to
the
Greenland.
that's good.
Can we censure members of the commission? I mean.
We could, but I will say that even as this moment, Michael and Michael works for Arlington County. A couple of times I've had lunch. I do think, knowing most everybody here, we like to be humans and be nice, and I'm glad you mentioned the bipartisan piece to this, because in the right civic world that we live in, we are kind to each other even as we disagree, and that doesn't mean we shouldn't speak our truths about the particular moment that we're in.
We have a Republican member, I don't think,
Oh, he's a good
and
guy.
regularly.
You have to check this one. And just one other thing, my city council,
Sure.
my city council is 6-1, but I have a great relationship with all my council members. We always have, and it's been always important to communicate and work where you can. And I'm pretty in the middle, so I'm not what you probably think of. Other Al, but this is Councilwoman Stacy Cyberlin. She'll be taking my spot. She is in her first term. So she's been appointed. She'll be voted on in February, and she'll be continuing. So again, I appreciate everything. It's been great. It's been amazing working with everybody here. So I wish everybody the best.
The only, yeah.
He's the executive director too. So we've had wonderful times.
Well, it's also the case that Michael's a single father who clearly is a great single father.
Thank you. Twins.
And I both.
Amazing.
Wow.
No, I'm not outnumbered. I'm on the state jail board. I was Youngkin's appointee, so I run it just like that.
Okay.
I'm law and order in the house. But no, they're great. They're amazing. They've always been pretty great.
Great,
So,
and welcome, and we will, when we do the votes tonight, we'll pass your vote, but we're thrilled that you're joining. And clearly you're very smart because you have you're already making sure your hands are clear when I.
Single mom, three boys, so I run a
You know the
tech shop as
truth.
well.
Sure. And just giving, is there a sentence or two that Stacy Rachna or excuse me, Dahlia Rachna or Stacy, you'd like to say as you start? You don't have to be so short that it's one sentence. But if you get to 3 minutes, we might all hope that. we keep it. Anything that you want to
I'm
share?
just happy to be back, excited about this board, excited about leadership, our new executive director. He brings an excellent energy and really appreciate the focus. And I think the MBRC is poised to be this convener for our region in a way that I think will be really helpful, and that sometimes state bodies don't necessarily speak for where we stand in this region. And I think there's a great opportunity, especially around areas we care about, such as housing, mental health, et cetera. And I had been single parent for 2 weeks, so I'm calling you guys for help. Whoa. I do not run it like the state jails, but thank you. Very excited to be here. I'm a little too late.
Give you that.
I'll just be brief. First, I'm really, really excited to be here. I'm excited to be on the board and serve my great colleagues around the table and with all of you. You know, I was joking. I feel like we see each other everywhere because I think we're on several different boards together, but in region commissions together. But I'm really excited to be here. I will say one of the things I ran on was building a smart economy and economic development in general, and really focusing on IT and you know, so I really appreciate the meeting I had with you, Craig, around some of the stuff, and I'm really interested in digging more into things like Go Virginia and the AI work. I've been very, very excited about that. So I'm thrilled to be here, and I'm thrilled to be able to partner with you all so we can, you know, work together for our region. So, yeah, learn from you all.
Fantastic. Well said. And my apologies, Dan, go ahead. If there's pieces you'd like to add, please welcome.
Just thank you for having me. It's been a little bit of whirlwind, got sworn in January 2nd. So just kind of everything is new as I go. First time I've been in office. So, but super excited. I met with Craig today for coffee. Blown away by everything that this group does, and can't wait to be involved.
Thank you very much. I think it's important. Counties, cities, and towns, we really have to value every piece of our region. And then also, I think it's worth just sharing that Dahlia and Rachna, you add to the fabric of our community and the history. Representation from our Asian and Latino communities has not been as good as we wish. So I'll just say that out loud and appreciate the diverse perspectives that each of the three would bring. Stacy, did you want to?
Look forward to working with everyone.
Great. Awesome. Thank you. So we'll now do a quick roll call and then to presentations. Craig.
Thank you. Commissioner Alcorn. Here. Commissioner Angry. Commissioner Bailey.
Presente.
Commissioner Bierman. Here. Commissioner Bodie.
Here.
Commissioner Carrera.
Here.
Commissioner Chapman. Commissioner Cummings.
Here.
Commissioner or Chair DeFronto.
Here.
Commissioner Fields.
Here.
Commissioner Glass. Commissioner Green. Commissioner Hardy.
Here.
Commissioner Harity. Commissioner Hudson. Commissioner Karantonis.
Here.
Commissioner LeBlanc.
Here.
Commissioner Lusk. Commissioner Nash.
Here.
Commissioner Palchik.
Here.
Commissioner Reed.
Here.
Commissioner Sains. Commissioner Sizemore Heiser.
Here.
And Commissioner Smith.
Here.
Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
Great. So we'll go next to presentations. And the first presentation is Liberty Amendments Month. And I'll turn it, I think, back to you and then over to whoever will do the presentation.
We've got a great team here from the town of Vienna to present on their creation, Liberty Amendments Month, and how you can bring it to your locality. So I'll welcome the Vienna Town Manager, Mercury Payton, and allow him to introduce his colleagues. And feel free to stand wherever you'd like and just say next slide when you'd like the next slide.
My name is Mercury Payton, the town manager of Vienna. Been in Vienna since 2011. I'm here with Councilmember Jessica Romakis. She is not only a council member, but she's also the council representative for the Liberty Amendments Month activity. We also have.
What if we ask them this?
The Parks and Recreation, our director of Parks and Recreation, Leslie Carmen. And so I'll start the presentation by briefly talking about how this all started back in 2020. You all
Between the
remember
seats.
what happened with the George Floyd situation and how we were all impacted and changed by what we saw and how horrifying that was. And as I watched that unfold, there were a lot of voices, not only in our nation, but just all around us about what the different positions and thoughts were about that. And at that time, there was talk about Juneteenth in 2020. And I started looking into Juneteenth as I'd heard over, past decades or so, going to Hampton University, you know about these things. And so as I looked deeper into the Juneteenth and how the former slaves in Texas 2 years late heard about the Emancipation Proclamation, I started to dive into that. And the Emancipation Proclamation was an executive order, which could have been undone by a subsequent president. And so as I looked at the 13th Amendment, which was something that was codified, that states had to agree to, as well as Congress, I wanted us to look at Juneteenth and the 13th Amendment and say, just publicly, that we look at this as something that unifies us. And then the 14th Amendment also caught my attention because it gave former slaves citizenship, and the 15th Amendment, former slaves, the right to vote. As I was kind of doing this research in the middle of that summer, I recognized and realized that with all of that was going on, if you can remember, that was COVID, there's a lot of things going on. There was an election year, a lot of voices, and I didn't hear much about the centennial of women getting the right to vote in 1920. And so what we did in Vienna, we looked at all of this and we said, you know what, it would be good to reflect and look at this from a nonpartisan perspective and look at what unites us instead of what divides us. And so what we did was first, the town of Vienna, the town council decided to make Liberty Amendments Month and Juneteenth a holiday. And then also looked at the month itself and making that something that we would reflect on each year. Then we worked with Delegate Mark Keem at the time and went down to General Assembly. And the General Assembly voted to unanimously, both Democrats and Republicans, 100% on Senate and the delegate side, to make this a month-long reflection that would be regarded and recognized by the Commonwealth of Virginia. So normally as a town manager, I don't get into those types of things with going to the General Assembly and asking for things like that. That's a council action typically, but I did feel passionate about it. And I was surprised that I was going to get that kind of positive response. And so what you'll hear here in a few minutes is what we do in Vienna, what we've been doing for the last 5 years or so, recognizing these 4 amendments, and it's in a very patriotic way, and it unifies our community. And with that, I'll look to Councilmember.
May I ask you all to stand over at the podium here? I'm told it's better for the microphone.
Sure,
to handle
absolutely.
this. Thank you.
That's very worse, thank you.
I guess you get the podium.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with all of you and to share about Liberty Amendments Month, such a rich showing of community for us in Vienna. So if we could go to the next slide, I think this slide captures some of the spirit. The pictures really tell the story, as is often the case. You can see the vibrancy and the different elements of our community. I'll talk more about that, but if you could go to the next slide, please. So I think this is capturing the purpose that Mercury was capturing and how Liberty Amendments Month got started. And also that there was a joint House resolution that came from the efforts that Mercury described. If you could go to the next slide, please. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what Liberty Amendments Month is, what it means to us in Vienna, and why it's so important. So it's a way of really celebrating our connections. I think, as Mercury mentioned, the nonpartisan nature of it, of our recognition of our shared history and reflecting on that together and doing it in different spaces in our community. So you could see in the pictures, we were in a faith community. We were at the community center. People are gathering at schools and in our town green, and they're just informal ways for us to connect as a community, which we love in Vienna, and doing it in the spirit of Liberty Amendments Month and acknowledging our shared history is really powerful. We also have a lot of community leadership. So again, I think, and how Mercury talks about it in his leadership style is really empowering others and having others step into new ways of expressing their leadership. So we have leaders of PTAs at our schools and our historic association and others who've been involved in the community for a long time, the Vienna Business Association, and others who are animated by this cause and who are empowered to create a vision for an event and to move it forward. So that type of varied leadership is a really wonderful feature of the month as well. And that flexibility and engagement lends itself to a lot of creativity. So we have people come forward with different ideas, which Lily will share more about, just the variety of wonderful speaking opportunities and creative events for children that all come forward as part of this month that gives us such a great celebration as a community in Vienna. So Lily, I'm happy to have you share more.
Thank you.
Great, thank you all so much for having us. I'm Lily Woodman. I'm the Superintendent of Events and Culture for the town of Vienna. And I have the privilege of being the event lead for Liberty Amendments Month. So I get to work with a lot of folks in the community on the different events that we'll tell you more about. So we've shared on this slide what our 2026 event structure looks like. It has taken us about 6 years to get here, worked through a number of different events. But currently we structure with a kickoff event, and each week we have events and programs that focus on one of the 4 amendments that Mercury talked about at the beginning of the presentation. And you can see the dates here. Throughout the entire event, we have some ongoing pop-up events, which I'll talk a little bit more about later to give you some examples, but those are events that essentially you can attend anytime. Some of them are self-led tours, like we have a African American history tour of Vienna that our local historic society put together that anyone could go on anytime, either using a video or a tour guide as an example. So I'll go into that a little bit more. Our kickoff event is a partnership with First Baptist Church of Vienna. It's a Juneteenth parade and celebration. A couple of other large events, we partner with USCIS on a naturalization ceremony. And that's one that we were partially inspired to do by the Reston Multicultural Festival, who has a naturalization ceremony as a part of their festival every year. And you might find some inspiration might have come from some of the events that you guys already have in your localities as we go through. Our Independence Day and fireworks is, of course, a big part of Liberty Amendments Month. It's how we all got started, as we're talking about, is celebrating the 250th anniversary of the country this year. And then we have a July 4th public reading of the foundational public reading of the foundational documents of American democracy. And this was an inspiration from Falls Church. One of our council members and committee members attended an event just like this at Falls Church, and we decided to create one of our own. And then one of our final events, a part of the celebration of the 19th Amendment, is an Empowering Women panel, which is a partnership with our business association. So we start with a mixer, and that brings together all different types of members of the community. And then we close with a panel that actually Supervisor Palchik has been a part of in the past, where we'll feature 3 or 4 women with really fascinating career trajectories, and they will talk to us about their career, with their lives, what they've done, and people will have a Q&A session with those folks. So we have a different women each year. Next slide, please. This is just a photo to show you an idea of what our crowd looks like at some of the events. Next slide, please. And then a few just highlights of events that we've done in the past and what that creativity that Councilmember Romakis was talking about earlier. We do have some weekly kids events. These are events that we already had before Liberty Amendments Month started that we amplified. So we bring in performers that line up with LAM themes. I'll say LAM a lot, so we don't have to say the whole Liberty Amendments Month and do that abbreviation. We added a story time to incorporate those themes as well. And then these are some examples of some of those really creative panel talks that we've done. So our Liberty and Libraries event was a partnership with Fairfax County Libraries. We featured a book presentation. Authors Chris Barbashak and Suzanne LaPierre, who are both Loudoun County Public Libraries staff, wrote a book about desegregation in Northern Virginia libraries. They did a presentation on that, and we paired that with an unveiling of the library plans for the new Carter Library in Vienna. And not a formal public forum, but a chance for people to ask questions. So that was a great event. Loving versus Virginia and its impact was another event that we did that partnered with Fairfax County Bar Association Young Lawyers. We got to bring in Philip Hirschkopf, who represented the Lovings in the case, along with Eve Runyon, who is a local lawyer, but also the daughter of a couple who immediately benefited when that case was ruled. And they did a Q&A session with those two folks, and it was a fascinating event. And all of these events that we feature up here are on our YouTube channel, if you want to go and look and see what they're like. And then Liberty and the Press was a panel with a conversation between two Black journalists. So we had Theodore R. Johnson from the Washington Post and Alexis Taylor from Afro News, and two historians, Dr. George Oberle from George Mason University and Georgia Brown, who's an archivist from the Fairfax County Circuit Courts and Historic Records Center. And that was another great opportunity for learning about the history of the role of Black newspapers and media, and then Q&A, discussion, story sharing at the end. So next slide, please. I'll just give you a quick summary of some of our ongoing events that I mentioned earlier. These are those events you can do just about any time. We have museum exhibits that roll out each week with a different set of history around each amendment. Those are at the community center and our local museum, the Freeman Store. We do a really fun, for the kids, a flashcard quiz for each amendment that we roll out each week. We swap it out, and people can do flashcard quizzes outside in front of the community center. I already mentioned our African American Sites tour. We have some public art. This is a temporary mural that we had on the Patrick Henry Library up until about 3 weeks ago when it was demolished. But it was always planned to be a temporary mural, and it was a really wonderful thing. And then we have the Liberty Minutes, which are minute-long historical videos that we have on our YouTube channel. We try to add 1 or 2 each year. So you can also check that out at Town of Vienna VA. And I will cover our American Liberty stories in a moment. Next slide, please. So Liberty Amendments is built on community effort and engagement, as Council Member Makus spoke about earlier. We have a great planning committee that comes together to make all of these events happen. And we offer a ton of ways for the community to get involved. So anyone can join our planning committee. Anyone can apply to present an event or program. We have a lot of opportunities for co-hosting, which means that we have a really easy, structured way for organizations and businesses to come in and co-host an event, like our foundational documents reading. And what that looks like is we ask businesses to sign on with a formal letter, and then we say, you have to bring 3 people to the event and you have to help us market it. And here's the ways we'd like you to market it. And that's been a really successful way to partner with a lot of new organizations and businesses. In addition to that, folks can sponsor an event or program, and then they can also provide in-kind support like refreshments or volunteering. I'll talk briefly a little bit about our American Liberty stories, because this is a special project and it's one that would be really easy to replicate in your localities if it was something you were interested in. So this is a story sharing project. They're stories of being or becoming American, and it came about after our first year of hosting the naturalization ceremony, because we were organically seeing tons of people coming to us with stories of like, this is how my family came to America. This is how this is my story of being naturalized in 1993 in LA, or here's a picture of my family. And we loved hearing those stories, and we were like, we have to capture these somehow, right? So we put together a community and a committee, excuse me, and they put together some parameters to try to help make this an as inclusive a project as possible. So it's a project for individuals and families who were native to this country or who journeyed here, whether willingly or not, about how they came to enjoy the rights as Americans guaranteed by the Liberty Amendments. We captured 22 stories so far. We'd love to get some more. I bet many of you have fascinating stories. You can submit them anytime on our website at this QR code. But it is something that I think would be that we know would be easy and we could provide a toolkit for to help duplicate in other communities as well. And it's a great time to start thinking about those stories as we celebrate the country's 250th anniversary. We have brought a couple examples of stories over here. So if you want to take a look at them, you can. And we've done a couple great things to get more stories. We have a worksheet on the website to make it easy for anyone to submit a story. You can submit a story by voice memo. It doesn't have a minimum word count or maximum word count. So you can submit a poem or a haiku along with a picture, or it could be, 1,000 words long. So there's lots of ways to participate. We let people submit handwritten stories and then we transcribe them. So there's something that we've tried to make as inclusive possible, and we're seeking opportunities, ways to partner with libraries, things like that. So we can go to the next slide. These are some examples of photos that folks have submitted as a part of their American Liberty stories. You go to that website, you can see some more and you can learn all of these folks' stories. Next slide, please. And then I have already mentioned a couple of times some of the programs in your localities that have inspired us. But I think as you think about Liberty Amendments Month and whether there's options to bring some of these programs to your community or bring a Liberty Amendments Month type event or program to your community, have any of you thought about events that already exist that have sort of Liberty Amendments Month themes as I've been talking that you already have in your community? Great. Do you think you have partners and agencies that might be interested in being a part of this event in your community? That's how it worked for us. We reached out to about 30 or 40 different organizations, faith communities, nonprofits, and they all came together and got really excited about this. Some of the things we wanted to mention that we have available to you, is this something you're interested in championing and bringing to your community? We have toolkits and planning documents that we can provide. We do have existing graphic design and exhibits that we've done the historical research with our historic society, and we would have to get permission to share the actual designs, but we have all the information we can share with you, and we probably get permission to share those designs as well. So there's a lot of things that you could just print and stick in the ground in your community for these outdoor museum exhibits and things like that we've discussed. You mentioned existing events, and I mentioned American Liberty Stories. So I think that covers everything. If you go to the next slide, I'm happy to take questions. The slide after this has all of our contact information. So mine, Councilmember Romakis, Mercury, and then Leslie, who's here to support us in the back. You all got a slideshow with some information, and then we've given you a LAM tumbler to take home. But I'm happy to answer questions, and also want to thank you again for your time.
First off, questions, Walter.
Yeah, and more of a comment. Great presentation. Thanks for pulling all this together and sharing it. I think most folks will recognize a number of very local things in Vienna. The history is so important in this series of events, and I'm thinking of some of the other jurisdictions around here and some of the locals who do have that would very much could be consistent with this. I mean, in Vienna, there's the First Baptist Church of Vienna, which has been a bedrock of the Black community there, for over a century. And Louise Archer is really the first Black school in that part of Fairfax County, and so there's so much rich stuff. It's not just kind of a legal thing that really is brought out. And thanks for mentioning, the library presentation and the Hirsch copy. I mean, fantastic program. So I couldn't recommend it more for folks to look to do something like this too.
Thank you, Walter. I would also just insert here, Mercury, I appreciate the tact with which you described it, but at the start of 2020, it was not so easy to say George Floyd's name and that you thought it was murder. And since you were very tactful, which is appropriate, I just felt like it's important to say that because this recovering lawyer saw all the elements of felony murder and murder from the jump. And I bet everybody in this room knows where they were. The verdict came down. And so I just, not to get into too much politics, but at the same time, I hope that that's a reasonable thing to say in this public forum, because I just think it's worth saying. So Kenny and then Dahlia, I think you were first.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for all the work. I also appreciate that you guys also brought some of the previous year's booklets. Because that sort of hits at my question and sort of goes into what the chair said as well, is that a lot of events and the thing about events, especially ones that commemorate history, is that there's people that miss out on the event, right? So if they wanted to capture some of the event, they can go online, they can see things, what have you. But it's great that you sort of commemorate at least some of the high points. So people that missed out know what happened. They were able to see some of the memories. So I appreciate that. And just wanted to reinforce and then ask my question. I would say, not to get too political about it, right now when we have an attack, an assault on true history, so things that matter, couldn't be more important, right? Knowing that there are folks and forces out there who are trying to roll back rights, trying to roll back things that folks hoped were won victories that apparently are not. So I really wanted to come in and highlight that piece as well, because so many of our communities in Northern Virginia have such rich histories. I mean, the two of us have two of the longest serving and longest running towns in the region, in the Occoquan district and the Potomac district. There's so much history around that. In the Occoquan district, for example, the Occoquan district in the presidential race where Abraham Lincoln won was the only part of the county actually voted for Abraham Lincoln over the other guy. The only one, because we had a strong abolitionist history there. But those stories don't get told on a wide variety, a wide scale. So this couldn't be more important. So to get to my actual question, I'll stop, get off my soapbox and ask my question. So as you guys have built this over time, it sounds like a lot of work is done, especially over the last few years, to get this to where it is. What are you all looking ahead to do to try to commemorate and capture as much as possible year to year? So if folks want to look back at 2024 or 2025 and see what was commemorated and what was talked about, that they're able to go back and sort of not re-experience it, but look back to see what was celebrated.
Well, we do, we record every panel that we have. So those are all recorded, and for the most part, they're available on YouTube. And that's partially a way to commemorate that, but it also makes it more accessible so that folks who can't be in the room for whatever reasons can watch at home later. So that's something that we do consistently. Beyond that, I'm trying, we have our meeting minutes.
Right. Well, and for me, what it represents each year is a reminder that we are a nation of laws and rights. Mm-hmm. And so looking back at 2020 and what everyone could see with their eyes, and look at the 14th Amendment, due process. Well, due process was not afforded to George Floyd, no matter what he did. Mm-hmm. Due process was not afforded. And there's a right as Americans that we have due process. And so it's a reminder each year, not just to, shoot off fireworks on the 4th of July mm-hmm. and kind of call it a day, but we take a month to say, you know what, out of pain, slavery, we abolished it. Out of a George Floyd situation, we said, you know what, this was a tragedy, should have never happened. Mm-hmm. So we're going to take this opportunity to pause and say, we all have rights. We have rights as women to vote. The 20th Amendment, we have due process right in the 14th Amendment. And so I think, to me, what it means to me each year is a time to reflect for a month on the fact that we all have rights that are in our Constitution. And if they're in our Constitution and they're ratified by states and Congress, it takes a lot to undo that. Like, I guess what the alcohol one was, prohibition, right? But that one was, but that's extremely rare, So to me, it means a lot to me because that was a painful time, and a lot of people can justify a lot of different sides of whatever issue, and just continue to go to their corners. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to take the opportunity to say, no, we know what, let's come together.
Thank you, Dahlia.
I just wanna thank you again. Excellent event. Always good to see you all. And, I'm sorry that I hope our panel is not available, but it probably is. I get a couple of questions and comments. Number one, I mean, especially this year when we're celebrating the 250th, right? I think, you've already done this work and hopefully some ideas will be gathered from this as our committees, organize the regional work. I guess my first question is, and I love that we want to celebrate. Do you see that through the work and the education and the conversations, there's an opportunity to say there's a lot we've learned, there's still a lot more we have to, right? Do these panels really have a chance to not gloss over like where we are now, right? And what work is still maybe, we're 250 years into this experiment and want to make it better and learn from it every year. Is that something that you see happening?
Yes, I mean, I think that panelists at the different events do share reflections about their own experiences and also work they see that remains to be done. I know last year we had an event where there was a presentation about the rules in residential areas related to who could own a home, and then a presentation about how, if you want to change those racial covenants, it's the term, the legal term, if you wanted to find out if you had that in your deed, and if you wanted it to be removed, how to go about that. That's as an example. So I mean, I think there are ways where some of the history, that is of course part of the history of the area, but then also what steps you can take moving forward. So I do think that that's one example, but I think other panelists share other reflections, and that's just a natural part of coming together for the event. And you mentioned the 250th. There's a lot of partnership between members of our community who are organizing around the 250th anniversary of our nation. And we're working with them with connections between Liberty Amendments Month and the 250th celebration, because Liberty Amendments Month is important to us. It has been. You've heard about that history for us. And the 250th is important for all of us now. And Liberty Amendments Month will continue in Vienna beyond that. So we just want to be really thoughtful about how we bring those two opportunities together to celebrate, and that we also preserve everything that Liberty Amendments Month is about.
Well, very exciting. I guess we'd love to discuss if you're open to the partnerships happening outside of the town and your neighboring areas of Vienna. I have some ideas, and I think it's a great opportunity, especially, and then finally, our History Commission is in April. I think they have a date now for the annual history conference. So perhaps it's an opportunity for you all to present there as well, to get
that'd be great
feedback and involvement in your event. So thank you for your work.
We got 2 or 3 more folks who want to speak. I'm just gonna throw in there. I have not been to a naturalization ceremony. Who in this room has been to a natural? I mean, I see lots of head nods.
That's wonderful.
And I felt like it was important to name that I have not been, because Takis has officiated at one, and Takis is a naturalized American, and his story in that sense is the American dream in my view. But I just would say that is, you mentioned that, and I most people I know who have been have cried. I just thought that I would mention that, and then I think Supervisor Bailey, and then Rachna after Takis.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It is a very powerful thing, Mr. Chairman, and I had to think back. I have, but I want 3 things I want to say. One, quickly. One is it takes courage to do what you have done, and as my chairman said, I want to name that, and I want to honor that and the steps that you're taking to do your work. It's important to our region. The second thing that I wanted to say was it really impressed me, the women's empowerment thing, and I know it was powerful because our Dahlia was on it. But
very humbling. They're incredible women.
yeah, I mean, and so in a world right now that we're in regionally, where our first female governor is in our midst, I think it is to raise the consciousness of that, and how the partnering within our nation of women as we carry the mantle next to our brothers and our sisters. I think that's important. I wanted to know, what is the next step that you see in that? Because we can sit at a panel and we can talk about how we've been blessed and how things have happened for us. But how do we use that, in going forward and growing our region, but growing our nation, because it's equally as important, no matter the hue. So what's your thoughts about that in terms of next steps, or have you thought about next steps? And if you haven't, I'm planting it at you. Well, okay.
I think the seeds of those next steps conversations happens a lot at the panels, and they happen in the community Q&As when folks are talking and sharing things. But almost every panel we have, there is a moment where you either hear someone in the community or someone on the panel say something, and you think that's an opportunity for our town or our community to change or to get better or to do something better. And an example is Councilmember Romakis mentioned our covenant on the racial covenant workshop. They mentioned in that workshop a project that they were doing to ensure that government properties and government lands were ensuring that all of those deeds had the racial covenants removed, because they were going into those deeds and seeing that some of those properties still had language in there. And you could see everyone in the room just going, oh, we got to look at that for Viet. You could just see the turnings. And those are the kinds of examples that I think give us the beginning of a conversation that can turn into real change.
And then lastly, very quickly, I'm sorry. I'll be quiet. I want to
We asked the question about next steps. Well, one of the things that we talked about in 2020 and 21, and even now, we went to the General Assembly. We wanted the Commonwealth to recognize this, and they have. And one of the next steps is to get communities to replicate this and to see this celebrated and reflected on in every corner of the Commonwealth. And the reason why is because what is done for us in Vienna, we want to see that done in other communities. So what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is that we know that in Vienna that we have police officers who stop people every day. Every single day, they stop people coming and going. And those encounters, any one of those encounters can go wrong. Okay. And so when we have this here each month, it's a reminder for our officers. It's a reminder for our residents. It's a reminder for those who are exposed to Liberty Amendments Month that we all have inherent rights that are given to us, and that we should hold on to those rights and respect each other, even if we disagree with each other. And so what I would like to see that next step is other communities replicate it, and then see communities change incrementally so that we just don't have so much division. I want to see us come together as a Commonwealth, even when we disagree. And even if there's an officer encountering someone, there's a way to do that. And our officers do a good job of that. And we even remove some officers from service if we see there's a record of them not following these traits and values. We remove them. So we want to see more of that. That's what I want this to be about.
I'll go. Let someone else go.
I mean, I think you better keep your two colleagues, council member. These are extraordinary leaders that you have.
They are. We're
serving
so
Vienna.
fortunate.
So, yes, but I don't want to take too much. Takis and then Raj. You're new, you get to go first. He's my colleague, so.
Whatever.
Yeah, Takis, go ahead. What you got?
Okay, so I cannot tell you how many thoughts I had when I saw that. First of all, this is an extremely innovative approach. Thank you for connecting the Constitution with with our everyday experience. This is really something nowadays, I can tell you. As somebody who's naturalized, there are two things that are happening in the moment that you get through this ceremony. Number one is you actually experience the weight of liberty the moment that you get your certificate. And it is particularly manifest the moment that you realize that you're not joining a country like, a club or something, but you're joining a country where, the last phrase of the Declaration of Independence that says, the signatories pledge their life, their honor. And so that is basically, we are responsible for all that. So this is not given, but it's agreed upon. And that makes, and the next thing that you do, is the second most important act, is you go and register to vote. And because we're in Virginia, you are closer than a year at max, sometimes only months from actually exercising that. So one thing I wanted to ask is whether the moment that the council has decided to go ahead and support that and probably also fund that, et cetera, what is the community development concept? So it's not only offering something for the general edification of the community, but actually something that builds community, that builds Vienna as a town with principles, as something that stands for the republic, basically.
Well, I think that they'll answer that question, but I just want to just express that when I say given, because we're breathing people, we have the right to exist and to be. So I think the Constitution was a reflection. The Constitution, if the Constitution didn't exist, we still have a right because we breathe to be. Like we have a, he deserves my respect and I deserve his respect, irrespective of the Constitution. The Constitution was written to recognize that. And because and I agree, we agree through the Constitution and recognize that reality. So when I say given, I think I'm saying given and agree.
I love your question. I think a lot of the community involvement and leadership is what really brings the event to life. So one of the things I think that you hear with Mercury and Lillian, her doing her work and how she facilitates and leads the overall effort is so welcoming of new ideas, of people seeing themselves in the vision of Liberty Amendments Month and what it means to them and bringing something new forward, and then just having the town be a partner in that. So it isn't the town in isolation coming up with ideas that then are shared out to the community. It really is a conversation with the community that people can apply, be considered. If their idea might need a little bit of refining to be able to work, Lily and the team provide that feedback. So it's that way that it's, I think, really has an organic element to it where people are bringing forward their creativity and their spirit and then doing the work to put something together and telling the town how the town can help. So I think that's a lot of what makes it so vibrant for Vienna.
Thank you. I was after that common purpose.
Yeah.
Finding common purpose and build from there. That's extremely important social capital right there. Thank you.
Did you want to add before we go to Rush?
I just mentioned that we do have an appendix because we were trying to keep this as brief as we could. And just some of the tangible ways that we structure the community involvement is contained in the appendix that you could take a look at. So there's a list of our ongoing partners. And then there's a nice kind of flow chart that shows you what our committee structure looks like. As well as our event program guidelines and our event applications. So just some extra info there.
But it seems so evident that you involve people in creating this together. And if you create that space, you can do amazing things, it seems to me. Rachna.
Well, there's lots of things I could say and I won't take the time. I was the first in my family to vote. My parents were both non-white citizens. So it was very meaningful to me to see this. I think as another reformed lawyer who taught constitutional law at George Mason for a while, I love the fact that you're bringing awareness of the Constitution and the foundation of law as the foundation of our government. But I had a question of, being the elephant in the room. I love the idea of the naturalization ceremony. I saw my dad go through his. But are you concerned in this atmosphere as to what happened at Faneuil Hall in Boston will happen during yours? And if you're not familiar with what happened is there was a naturalization ceremony at Faneuil Hall, a very, very famous historical place for a naturalization ceremony where certain people were not allowed to get naturalized as they were showing up for their families to get naturalized and pulled out. And I am concerned because that would take an amazing event that you planned. That was just in December, an amazing event that is so needed right now and turn it into something that would be horrific for a lot of people. So I just wanted to bring that into the conversation.
It's beautiful.
The only thing I can really speak to in terms of that is that we have some really, really wonderful liaisons with USCIS. We work really closely with them to plan every aspect, and whenever we've had a concern like that in the past, we have a really open dialogue about it and talk about what would happen if X happened. So like last year, multiple people were concerned what happens if ICE shows up to the naturalization ceremony. So we called up our contact and we talked to him about, is this something you've seen? Is it something we should be prepared for? We want to make sure our staff knows what to do if this happens and they're prepared. And we talked it through. And at that time, that was not a concern of them that they had, and not something they'd seen at other events. But they have an incredible team, and their office is right down the road. And our work with them I could just say nothing but good things about working with
And I
them.
hate asking this question, but it's the reality of times.
Yeah.
we're in. So,
Sure. Yep.
thank you, I appreciate it.
And you guys don't look like, I mean, this is a question that we all have to answer together. But if you guys want to add anything specific, feel free. I guess I would say that, you have to be concerned in this moment. I have, everybody else in the room may already have their plans for their 250th, but in Arlington, we do not have grand expansive plans for our 250th. We have sort of talking points, but we don't have a concrete specific thing. I'm thinking back to the movie Lincoln and the 15th, if I'm right, amendment. But this has to be done June, July. It's most appropriate to be done in that month. You couldn't easily do it in another month. Is that what you would say?
Well, that's what we found. I mean, I wanted it to be meaningful, and I looked at when was the 13th Amendment ratified? When was the 14th? When was the 15th? When was the 19th? And so what I kept falling back into was the fact that we already have a crowning moment, which is Independence Day.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to bookend that. And so we look at, I think it's the third week of June going to like the second week of July. So we kind of just surround it and make the 4th of July the kind of the centerpiece. But then how do you say it's the centerpiece when we have the women empowerment piece that would probably is one of the most powerful pieces that we have of the weeks.
Sure.
So that's why I kind of fell in that.
That's super helpful. I'm mindful of time. We got a lot of other things. I will say what I think has to be said, that 32 people have died in ICE custody of the last year. We should center them. But we should also say Renee Good's name, because that is a new question as to the threat that we are in. If you named George Floyd's name, it was a different thing, but at least I'm open to individual conversations as to that reality, because that is in my view, a threat to the rights of so many and what occurred. So hopefully that's not too much to say. I just felt like it had to be named after what you just said, Rachna. And anything else other than an additional round of applause? Any last comments? Thank you. This has been a great conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. Very nice. Very nice. Thank you so much.
So next we have, the next item is adoption of action items, and I will send it over to Craig for a summarizing of the first of the action items and maybe all of them under item 4.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We've got 2 resolutions for you this evening. The first is to authorize the agreement with the advertising firm for our clean water partners. This is a routine matter just to be able to pay them for the ads. And the other resolution is to authorize us to do some work for the town of Clifton to update their comprehensive plan. Over the last 20 or 30 years, we've helped Clifton out twice before, doing technical work like mapping and data. And this is an opportunity for us to help one of the localities in our region who is not a member of the commission due to their population, but still benefits from our work. And it gets a little bit of revenue that takes some of the stress off of our general fund, because essentially some of our staff's time is paid for with this project instead of with other local contributions or grant funds. We recommend approval of both resolutions.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Bailey and seconded by Commissioner Palchek. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those are both approved. Unless we, as you guys are cleaning up a little bit, Dan, you have set a high bar for your locality. in your first meeting.
Yeah, just tell them they knocked it out of the park.
They sure did. They sure did. Now we have a sort of a substantive conversation that we have to work through, and go to Craig for the executive director's report.
Thank you again. So if you'll flip a few pages to the beginning of the slides, as you know, we've been spending a lot of time talking about our strategic planning process and the goal of getting to at least an outline of a strategic plan in May following a commission retreat, doing some work sessions before that. Appreciate those of you who are able to complete the survey we sent out to try to nail down the logistics, and our goal is to leave tonight with a plan for what we're going to do over the next few months. The short version of these slides, I won't go into the weeds on them, is that although there was not a clear consensus on everything, there were there's some clues that enabled the executive committee to kind of hammer out a plan. So essentially, we've got the months of February, March, and April, where we could use our commission meetings to do work sessions with all of you. And we have May, where we could substitute the retreat for the time that we would normally spend at a meeting, even if it was a different day of the month. That would leave us with 3 opportunities to do work sessions with the commissioners. And then we would do additional staff work sessions with folks from the localities and from partner organizations leading up to each of those meetings. So we would do a staff work session during the day with the professional facilitation from Weldon Cooper that we've lined up. That would help inform and prepare you for your work session during a commission meeting. And we'd sort of alternate like that until May. The trade-off here is that it's not likely that we could spend 3 or 4 hours in the evening that you already have on your calendar for a commission meeting, but we would I will ask you essentially whether you might be able to get away with coming here at 7 or even 6:30 to try to make it longer than a 90-minute conversation. So that's the kind of the broad overview of the plan, that we do these staff work sessions during the day. We do the ones with the commission in the evenings. They'd be a few weeks apart, so we have time to use one to inform the other. And that leaves us with the remaining task of figuring out what the topics are, which I'll get into in a second. Any kind of questions or comments about that overall framework? Okay, so then if you look at the topics here, clearly there were 4 that got the most interest among those who responded to the survey, and 1 that's sort of a high second after that, and then the other ones had 1 suggestion each. As we discussed economic development more, it seemed like that would be really ripe for a discussion with the economic development agencies first, to make sure we're understanding what's already going on in terms of regional cooperation in that area before we try to brainstorm about what we might do in that role. And so if we use workforce, energy, and AI, not necessarily in that order, for the months of February, March, and April's commission meetings, we would come back after meeting with the staff on economic development to see if there's enough there to maybe do a bonus work session with the commission on economic development. If not, it would stay kind of at that staff level, and we would just be focused on workforce, energy, and AI. Now, we can have as many work sessions as we want. We can have as many meetings as we want, but there's some practical limit to how much we can do this. So, that would leave aging to be a less formal conversation unless we wanted to try to squeeze in an additional formal conversation on that. So again, ideas February, March, and April are workforce, energy, and AI, not necessarily in that order. We'll do a staff conversation on economic development separately, and then see if it warrants doing a commission work session on that topic.
I'm trying to see if I listened carefully, because we were in the executive committee and we had a conversation. It's not that economic development isn't paramount for all of our localities. It's that, do we have a separate niche from the regional economic development entity that has been created? And that is the question that the executive committee, in our infinite wisdom and desire not to sign up for too many things to do, suggested that perhaps some conversations where Craig engaged and with the regional economic development leadership might be appropriate. So that's the context for that. Jimmy.
Have you been talking to staff in all of our counties? Cause I can just tell you, this is very, very ambitious. It's a lot of time, it's a lot of energy, and that's fine. But I can tell you, our county executive doesn't really think this is necessarily worth spending a ton of Fairfax County staff time on. This is a regional commission. I can confess that the idea that we would be doing 4 to 7 hour strategy sessions outside of our 90-minute sessions or whatever we want to talk about these meetings seems like more than is necessary. Walter, Kathy and I aren't, but Dahlia, we're on NVTC. This is ton more than we do with NVTC. It's a ton more than we do with COG. It's a ton more than we do with TPB. I think all of those groups have bigger budgets and bigger remits than this one. And I just want to know if every other county or if the town manager of Herndon wants to be spending all the time on this, or folks from Falls Church, or because I'll tell you, the county executive doesn't. And of course, the county executive reports to us. But, I'd like to hear what other counties think of, because candidly, it's more than I would be spending.
So a couple of different triaging a little bit. I'm
Yeah,
glad you said.
and you're right, there are a bunch of, I'm the skunk at the garden party at half of these things, but, I felt like it needed to be said.
Yeah, I'm happy to respond to that.
That's the glory, and I just want to take this part, just to give context and then to send it over to Craig. Your sentiments, well known to Craig, and we know of the county executive's views. He knows better than I. We did at executive committee essentially take your broader point of the amount of hours. And I don't know whether you and Kathy already talked about it, but Kathy shared her view that, if it's okay to say, that we gotta squeeze a little bit so I'll just say that conversation happened, and Craig's gonna add a bunch of stuff. So, lest you think that, that's part of the reasoning for all of the sessions go in the nights that we're already meeting.
Okay.
So we go down from where the survey was to the nights. And then we do have, of course, the retreat, which is the additional piece. But that's my 2 cents to kind of try to put you aware that we thought that, in addition to Craig trying to navigate things. So Craig's not in a responding to this skunk at the garden party alone. So.
Right, so we started the survey with 4 4-hour work sessions that would probably not be on the same nights as commission meetings. And now what we've gotten to is using 3 existing commission meetings instead of 4 separate work sessions. The question is still, could we manage to do 2 or 2.5 hours instead of 90 minutes? But that's how we've really contracted the hours. The reality is that we have 13 members that have very different returns on investment from a quantifiable standpoint, compared perhaps to the financial investments they make. And we've got one locality with 5,700 residents and another with 1.2 million residents. And so it's going to be very difficult to make every locality feel that they're getting exactly the same thing out of a regional commission like this. But my goal, as much as possible, is to make sure that you all feel good about whatever you're getting out of it. And the clear theme from all of the one-on-one meetings, I've told many people I did 55 one-on-one meetings with every employee, commissioner, and CAO. And almost everybody said either we're excited about where this is going, but we're not exactly sure what that is, or we're skeptical about our investment, or we just think there's a lot of opportunity for clarity here. And so I think everybody would benefit from investing a little bit of time to feel better about your financial investment in the end. I think that if we do this well, and if we can reach some consensus, the county executive will be more excited about NVRC, and all of you will be, and all of us will be. We have a great organization. We do a lot of great programs. We are not rudderless. We are not confused about what we're here to do, and all of our programs are successful. But we have not developed a clear and deliberate mission statement and strategic plan, and it's difficult for us to say what we're aiming towards over the next 5 or 10 years. And when we have challenges like our Ryan White funding, which I'll talk more about later, or new opportunities, we don't have a clear framework to make decisions. So it's all been very ad hoc. Last thing I'll say, compared to something like NVTC, we're really the only regional organization I can think of that doesn't have a specific legal mandate. We have some general mandates, like do studies as needed or plan for the future, but it's not really clear that we're supposed to be doing a specific thing other than the things we've taken on over time, which are now our obligations. So although I think it's important for all organizations to do strategic planning, NVTC starts off with the obvious topic that they're supposed to be addressing, and we don't. All I can say is we're supposed to do regional things. And so now we need to figure out what those are, so that we could feel really good about it. So where we've gotten to with this proposal is to try to balance and be respectful of your time, but also ask for your input so that we get to May with a really strong sense of unity around what we're here to do.
Hope that helps. Done.
If I may, just because we represent the same county, but have very different views on this, and just want to share as someone who stepped away from this because I wasn't seeing that return, and stepped away from VACO because I have a 4-year-old and I couldn't make those meetings. I am hopeful and excited. My very first meeting I ever attended was all the housing development heads together in one room, and coming back in my first meeting back being the housing work session, I found to be exactly the kind of work I want us to be doing. Is really substantial learning, working together. We are all very different. We may come across different things, but much more than just, sitting here and enjoying time together because we like each other, right? And making a few smart decisions, small decisions. But as we face this very large economic threat, which I think all of these are tied back to economic development, right? The changes at the federal level, the impact on our workforce, the impact on the future, the impact on our regional viability, lack of housing, et cetera, and need for connectivity. I do think there are opportunities for this to be more effective. And I appreciate the ability to turn some of these meetings into those work sessions. I don't know the total number, and hopefully by the end of this, that's my caveat, is that we do have a clear sense and a clear plan, at minimum for the next few years of where we want to focus our attention. So
Great. I think that's helpful. I'm glad you shared that. Jimmy, you seemed to indicate you had a further comment, and I want to not.
No, this was me
Jimmy always says
pointing,
further
this was me pointing to Dahlia.
Got it. I didn't.
That was what that meant. She had her hand up.
Got it. And I want to hear
Finger,
from.
Jimmy. No.
Well, no. I want to hear from everyone. I also would note that at NVTC, I tried to make meetings start and end on time, and we do try to move quickly while also incorporating everybody. Kenny, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll be brief, but I appreciate both perspectives. Because Jimmy and Dahlia, I will say, I hear you 100%. There's a reason why I don't do VACO either. Because I have 5 kids at home and our bandwidth can only bandwidth so far. So I hear you on that. At the same time, to the point, this organization has never done this before. I feel like foundationally speaking, how a strategic plan not only is a good use of the time, at least the outset, but my hope is that we get this first one done, which will make subsequent ones less time intensive in the future, right? When you're starting with a blank slate, you have to take more care and consideration, from my opinion. But still to the point, to me, it would not be hard to ask folks to stretch an additional half hour, right? A lot of us sit on a lot of the boards of commissions that start at 7 versus 7:30. That's not bad, I don't think. But once you start getting into 6:30, I think that's when it starts stretching too far. But again, to the point, I appreciate the nimbleness of going, okay, instead of having additional things on top of our normal meetings, let's just have those as a normal supplement, instead of our normal meeting time. So I think there's a way forward that gets to meet the baby in the middle. But again, I would just say that once we get to the end of this process, and I know, Craig, you highlighted this at the very beginning when we started this, that there actually has to be actionable, deliverable things that we can go to our localities and show that this is worth the time, effort, not only as us and elected officials, but the convening of all this the different county, town, and city staff to show this isn't just a roadmap to sit on a shelf. It's actually one that's going to help move the region forward in some meaningful way.
Great. So we're looking at unless there's strong consideration, when it gets towards 9:30, I'm less articulate. Just in general, at NVTC, that's true, it's true here. So we're sort of looking at the 7 or 6:45 to 9 or 9:15 at the max. I saw some head nods around 7 to 9. You know, quality time in general with kids is not good as really great quality time, and that's just separate, but so we want to be tight about how we schedule this. But I also want to be respectful of making sure it works. And I think probably all of us have been part of failed strategic planning efforts and also successful strategic planning efforts. Not seeing any additional, yes, Michael.
One thing, just from my experience here, a lot of the rich information we received, the data points received is just from the presentations of the people we brought in. And I think it's important us as a body through boundaries, identify the economic indicators, the workforce, you know, the important demographic numbers, everything that's occurring. One other piece I would strongly encourage is as a body here, and I mean, it's changing administration, there's great things about it, but there is now, because just where there's one party controlling it, there's different factions in every party and they want it. And some of the concerns I'm seeing from the South and some of the language that's being used towards the northern part of the Commonwealth are being impacted. And we do send a lot of money and carry, and there's language being said around the Commonwealth, and I think this body should take a stand on some legislation that is impacting Northern Virginia. Specifically, there's one to get rid of sovereign immunity for our localities. And that's a concern that, you know, I think as a region, we need to focus and try to make sure we have the best interests of our region up here, so.
Yeah.
You're also alluding to another point about the process here, which is that something like talking about a regional legislative approach to anything in particular doesn't really fall entirely within any one, you know, topic like AI or energy. So that would be that's a conversation we can continue to have over the next few months. The structure and governance of the commission and how we use meetings and how you all use your positions is a separate conversation we can have. So there are a lot of different small conversations that can play out. We're focused right now on trying to figure out how we do the formal meetings. And if you're all okay with this plan, I think the only decision that has to be made tonight is to officially change the meeting time to 7 p.m. so that we can properly notice the meeting. All of these other things will continue to flesh out as we go.
So
that's for February, March, and April.
So without objection, for February, March, and April, we'll meet 7 o'clock. We'll seek to be done 9 o'clock, and you know, and we'll try to be efficient. And
Sorry, one caveat to that, my
yeah,
apology.
go ahead, Tanya.
I know
And then-
we actually, most of us are in budget public hearings in April, so that's a little bit more tough. I can't remember exactly when we meet in April.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
But when do the
I
commission?
don't think we.
For Thursday in April.
Oh, it's after.
Yeah.
Great, we're okay there,
We're
Walter.
good.
Go ahead.
There will be food, right?
Yes. Yes. And please continue to give me feedback on food and other meeting amenities. So the last piece of this is the retreat. And as the slide indicates, there's not a consensus on exactly when to do the retreat, but it seems like probably the best chance we have to get the most people together would be to expand the regular meeting on May 28th earlier into the afternoon. We could also try doing it from a morning to afternoon window, but that's where I would start that part of the conversation, that we do the retreat on Thursday, May 28th. And I originally was hoping for something more like 7 hours. I think I'll propose now 6 hours or 5 hours. We can't have a 2-hour retreat, and you know, by the time the breaks are over, the whole thing is done. So I think if we could try to do 4, 5, 6 hours one time every 5 or 10 years, that would be really important.
Let's
Depends
start.
on the food.
Oh, there you go. Let's start with this. Let's start with the reasoning for May 28th, which is after Memorial Day, not the Thursday before. The reasoning for May 28th is that the budget season is a nightmare. We're all gonna be tired. Some of us are gonna be back in CIP, Capital Improvement Plan world. But I think the executive committee said, you know, even if the numbers on the survey weren't the highest, we stretch and we make it work. I will say, we don't think the same staff is gonna come to every one of the pre-planning sessions. What we need is a critical mass on each of the 3 nights, and us to stretch to get to a critical mass on May the 28th. And so hopefully that's rationale that can at least make that okay. Is there big thoughts against May 28th? Keeping in mind that there's somebody in this room who cannot do May 28th, so, you know, okay. We're gonna have a lot of lunches because.
It's gonna be at your house.
So, with that, is there anything
So
else?
what time are we saying for the 20th? Because we also have to notice that.
I will go ahead and say into the ether that I taught but I still don't get up at 7:30. And so 9 o'clock sometimes feels early to me, but of course we all do it. I would suggest what if we do it later in the day through the night?
Well, it could be
Like
4 to 9 for.
4 to 9. I like that. That doesn't rock the world. So I don't see big no's. And so that's what we'll do. Ish. We'll figure it out. and-
That's his thing.
Or 5 to 9.
Might just have to ask for.
Right?
Got it. With that,
7 to 9 and then 4 to 9.
so I will move that we change the timing of the February, March and April meetings to 7 o'clock. And I will move that we select for May the 28th, our meeting time to be 4 to 9. If we get to, we will have a tightly planned agenda. And if it ends up being 5, we go to that later. So I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? And speak if you want. I'm not trying to, no further, not seeing anybody jumping out of their seats. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you very much. And the retreat will be professionally facilitated by Weldon Cooper. So, we will keep it on point. I
Go ahead.
want to just hit some highlights from our time since the last meeting. Moving on to the slides, we hosted the CAOs on December 18th, and they brought their legislative liaisons with them. We went through about, I think, 14 different categories of legislation and tried to talk about upcoming issues and align where we could. And I think it was a very helpful conversation. And they'll be back in February to discuss budgets. Bonzel Maddox is here with us tonight, our Director of Community and Military Partnerships. He was appointed last month by Governor Youngkin to the Board of Veteran Services.
Give him a hand clap.
I've already heard from the Spanberger administration that they're hopeful to reappoint him because he's finishing an unexpired term that ends June 30th. So we'll hope to see him continue there. This is an example of a lot of the relationships that he's built across administrations and across levels of government. You can see him here pictured with Mark Warner and Tim Kaine, and just doing really great work. And also with us tonight is Philip Fleming, who's part of our military community partnership program. And they are not only responsible for these relationships, but also a lot of revenue that's coming from our partnership with the military. So we very much appreciate them both. Next slide. Our Ally Wagner has created this 48-page guide to best management practices, or BMPs, in stormwater management. We've got copies over there on the table, and this is also available online. This has 14 fact sheets in addition to other guides. And the idea is to give this to people who own property, people who are community leaders, and encourage the implementation of these best practices. Ally also hosted a webinar on this that you can see on our website. Next, we want to congratulate our Arlington County commissioners who have Commissioner Karantonish has finished his term as chair of the Arlington County Board, and our chair has started his term as chair of the Arlington County Board. So congratulations to both of them. Our Commissioner Lust just completed his term as the COG Board Chair, so we want to recognize him. Next slide is that, and we also recognized Commissioner Reed last month for becoming the president at COG. The next slide is about our RFP we talked about last time to solicit proposals for an AI economy plan and an action summit. We're doing this in partnership with the AI Coalition Working Group, which was launched by the Fairfax County Department of Economic Initiatives and now is becoming region-wide. That RFP opened last week, and it will close on February 6th. We're already getting a lot of interest from vendors. So if you know anybody who might like to work on doing an assessment of opportunities and challenges in the region and then putting together this event, please direct them to our website. Next slide. We submitted, with your authorization last month, a 7-page letter to the State Corporation Commission opposing Dominion Energy's petition to, in our view, water down their net metering program, which would make it more difficult and less likely that homes and businesses would install solar energy systems, and therefore less likely that our localities can meet their carbon emissions goals. In addition, I testified in person on Tuesday at the hearing, which was actually held by the 3 judges of the State Corporation Commission. Sometimes, most of the time, I guess they're administrative law judges or hearing examiners, but it was the commissioners themselves that conducted this hearing. So I think there's a lot of interest in this case. Arlington also spoke in person at that meeting. So stay tuned in several months, I suppose, for a decision in that case. On the next page, as you all know, we suffered devastating cuts from both the pharmaceutical rebates and the federal funding that make our Ryan White program go. And I've been working with the other Ryan White administrators around the state. We are the only government administrator of a Ryan White program in the state besides VDH itself. All of the others are nonprofits or health systems. So we've taken the lead on trying to play the state budget game and try to get this funding restored through the state budget. We, as of today, when all of these amendments hit the website, we actually have 5 members of the General Assembly who have budget amendments to put back this money, including our version, which is Senator Eben and Delegate Tran, restoring the entire $29.8 million statewide, which essentially makes this a state-funded program instead of a pharmaceutical and federally funded program. And that's extremely ambitious, and this is not at all a shoo-in, but with this many members who have actually filed amendments, and then many others who didn't but are supportive of this, I'm confident we're going to get something, which would be a big help for our current situation. We have not had to lay off any staff. We have not had to disenroll any patients, but we're not allowed to provide as many services to the same patients as we did before, which makes the whole point of wraparound services less wrapped around. And therefore, the viral transmission rate would be likely to increase over time as the services are less impactful. So some of these other administrators around the state, they're laying off doctors, nurses, dentists, they're closing buildings, they're disenrolling patients who have to drive over an hour away. The impact of these cuts across the state has just been devastating. So we're working together to try to get this money back on the state side. And if you know any of these members, please feel free to thank them. And if you know members of the appropriations committees, please encourage them to do the right thing. Separately, in the second bullet here, NVRC has taken the lead with the VA PDC, the Virginia Association of Planning District Commissions, and the Hampton Roads Planning District Commission to try to increase our state funding for planning district commissions. Every year, planning district commissions get $114,000 to be a planning district commission, which doesn't pay for very much, at least not in Northern Virginia. And although we do get a little bit more for having a much larger population, it's only $191,000. Our rent on this building is many times more than that for a year. So we are hopeful that we can get some increase. And I worked with Delegate Bolova, who, as many of you know, worked here for 11 years at NVRC and has been very helpful in the past with our funding. And he suggested a more objective approach where we could say sort of where we're getting these numbers from instead of just asking for more money. We've basically done a statewide survey to see on average how much it costs to have the top 5 positions that every PDC probably has and the overhead that they have. And this kind of money is not of interest to many grantors. So can't pay for rent with most grants to the degree that we have rent. Sometimes the grants don't even pay the salaries of the people working on the grants. So we need some investment from the state to say regional infrastructure is critical. We don't always know exactly what it will be for. To call back to our strategic planning process, we have to be nimble and adaptable. But when we are needed, we need to be there already in operation. And the least we can ask for is this $360,000 per PDC to try to make that happen. That is half of that basic cost we came up with. And then the idea is that localities would pay for the other half. Of course, you all are actually paying many times more than the other $360,000, but in some parts of the state, the locality investment is not nearly as high, and the state funding is even more important. So Senator Favola and Delegate Glass from Norfolk have put in those amendments for us, and if you know them or anybody else on the appropriations committees, please advocate for that funding increase. So we're doing what we can to try to shore up our funding without just asking you for more money. We will at times ask you for more money as well, but we'd like to do that for reasons that we're all excited about and not these kinds of reasons. And so it's a multi-pronged approach. All right, next slide. We are in winter salt season. You may have noticed that it's probably going to snow quite a bit over the weekend. And
No.
so this is a very timely opportunity to direct the community's attention to some best practices in the use of winter salt to avoid runoff and pollution. And we held one webinar yesterday for the residents and businesses, another one tomorrow for HOAs and community associations to basically learn, you know, how to use salt effectively without overdoing it and causing more pollution than necessary. Our website has lots of additional information about that. So as you go into this weekend's snow, please take it easy on the salt.
Sure.
And that takes us to our financial reports. Only real call out here at the bottom of the left first page, you'll see that we're down about $30,000 for the current month. Keep in mind that the current month represents 1/12 of our budget, but nothing ever really happens in equal 1/12 over the course of the year. So in this case, we had a lot of holiday leave in December, and leave is usually not chargeable to grants, which means it has to come from the general fund. So for that month, we see higher than average use of the general fund and lower than average use of revenue from other sources. But over the course of the year, that balances out. So there's not much else remarkable to say about the financial reports.
That is executive director's report. Are there questions? Keeping in mind, I do try to end meetings by 9 o'clock.
I just want to.
But go ahead if you, go ahead. Sorry, didn't mean to be that heavy, but go ahead.
Just wanted to say, pardon me. No, I just wanted to say, thank you for your recognition of me becoming chair of VRE.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I love you, Greg. Just want to say an appreciation for, and this is something that I'll put on my website, the salt thing, because it's a PFAS thing that's going around that our communities are concerned about. And so this will help and helping them to maintain. So
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
And we got a lot of great content for your constituent newsletters and just the programs that we're doing on a regular basis. Feel free to copy and paste and totally steal any of it.
And also congratulations, VRE is a big job, and so thank you.
I'm
for
just a
sharing that.
girl. I'm just a
Yeah.
girl.
Seconding the work on salt, because it's the first time that I see, I mean, we have had, Fairfax has a very, very nice, salt construction, salt your sidewalk, etc. But I think that on a regional level, this is leading thinking. We are oversalting. We are using that without understanding the actual implications of that, not only on PFAS, but to the environment, oversalting, even damaging the flora, damaging the natural environment. So thank you really for that. This was, really, it's a public service. Honestly, this
Sure.
was great.
I'm glad you mentioned it. I think any other questions on that? The chair's report is that we had our meeting on December 11th. On December 12th, my son did have a surgery. It was successful. I'm sorry I was not here. Thank you for sharing that.
My pleasure.
He's 11 weeks old and he has a surgery. It's a thing. Inguinal hernias are not they're common, but we want your surgery to go well. Thank you for being nice about that. That's the end of my chair's report. Is there a motion to adopt the minutes from the December 2025?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Commissioner Bailey and seconded by Commissioner Bodie. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? I'll abstain since I wasn't here. I don't think that happened. 1, 2, 3. The new commissioners are abstaining. 1, 2, 3, 4, and me. And you got that, Craig? Are there other matters to come before the commission? I will not take a motion. I will just adjourn us.